Hey there, Donald from Talking About Podcast, back with yet another video cast. Yep, you guessed it, we're back in the kitchen. Tonight I'm going to show you how to make a classic Japanese dish, one that's great for cold nights, and one that's great for dining with, a big party, family or friends. Great because they do most of the work for you. Yep, tonight I'm talking about the classic Japanese hot pot dish, Shabu-Shabu.
I get shabu-shabu, I get shabu-shabu.
So, let's get cooking. Okay, let's talk about what you're going to need ingredient-wise. Now, shabu-shabu is all about the dashi, or the broth that you cook the other ingredients in. Fortunately, nothing could be simpler. All you need are water, which I just spilled, and konbu, or kelp. And in fact, kelp, this konbu, is so crucial to making dashi that oftentimes you'll see it labeled dashi konbu. You can find this at pretty much any Asian market, maybe even some of the larger grocery stores with ethnic sections as well. Now, you're going to need some ingredients to actually cook in the broth. You'll need some Chinese cabbage, negi or long green onions, some carrots, enoki mushrooms. These are a type of Japanese mushroom. They're kind of weird looking, but they taste pretty good, and they're a standard part of shabu-shabu. You should be able to find these in a Japanese or Asian market. Shiitake mushrooms, another type of Japanese mushroom, but these are somewhat more common. You should be able to find them in almost any grocery store. Packaged udon noodles. These usually come with a packet of soup base. You don't need that, throw it out. And finally, meat.
Oh, meat! Real meat!
Sirloin, to be exact. It has to be cut really, really thin, though. Unfortunately, too thin that you can't really do it at home, unless, I don't know, you're a cyborg or something. Have your butcher slice it for you, or in some Asian markets, you can find beef that's pre-sliced for shabu-shabu, such as right here. That's it for the shabu-shabu ingredients. Shabu-shabu is commonly served with two dipping sauces, so you'll need some ingredients for those too. The first is sesame sauce, and for that we'll need white sesame seeds, mirin, sugar, rice vinegar, soy sauce, garlic, and finally some of the dashi broth that you're about to make. The second sauce that's commonly served is ponzu sauce. For that we'll need lime juice, soy sauce, daikon, a type of Japanese radish, a bit hard to find. You probably won't find this in your local megamart, but any Asian foods market worth its salt should have some. And finally, more negi. You're also going to need some equipment. A Japanese-style grater, which we're going to use to grate the daikon and the garlic. If you can't find one of these, they're not that expensive. I think I got this one for like $1 in an Asian food store. Anyways, if you can't find one of those, a Western grater with a fine mesh will work. A suribachi, or kind of a Japanese mortar and pestle, this will be used to grind the sesame seeds into sesame paste for the sesame sauce. You can order these online. They're not that expensive. I think this one cost, 10 or $15. You should probably be able to find them in Asian markets as well. If all you have is a Western-style mortar and pestle, that should work too. But the nice thing about the suribachi is it has these cool little grooves in the actual bowl, which make gripping onto things that you're grinding really easy. Finally, unless you like sitting around your stove in the kitchen, you'll want some sort of portable cooking apparatus. You can get portable electric burners such as this. They're not that expensive either, maybe $15. But why not go whole hog and go the Japanese traditional route and use a portable butane stove? If you've ever had shabu-shabu at a Japanese restaurant, you're probably familiar with these. They're not that expensive either, I think, again, around $15 or so, and you can get them online. They're powered by these cool little butane cylinders, which you can also get online, or probably at any Asian market. You could probably get the burners there as well. Whatever you do, do not use cosmic gas.
Now don't you worry, look what I got.
Or else, well, you don't want to know. First, let's make the dashi broth. Get some water and pour it into a bowl. Now get out a piece of kombu. One piece is enough. Now you might be thinking, ew, what's this weird powdery stuff? Do not wash this off. This is the yummies. This is the salt and other minerals that came from the ocean. You want to keep this on. You might have to cut your kombu to fit your bowl. But just give it a good soak. Let this soak for 30 minutes. After at least 30 minutes of soaking, transfer the kombu and water into a pot, put it on the stove, and start to boil it. Just before it starts to boil, remove and discard the kombu and take the dashi off the heat. Meanwhile, let's turn our attention to the shabu-shabu ingredients. Now it's time to make the sesame sauce. Using your suribachi, grind the heck out of the sesame seeds. Next, grate yourself some garlic. Now, while stirring, gradually add the mirin to your sesame mixture, or your grated sesame seeds. Repeat with the sugar, vinegar, soy sauce, and garlic. Finally, again, while stirring, slowly add the dashi. Now take your daikon and peel it. Okay. Now take your daikon, after having peeled it first, and grate it. Now take your negi, don't forget to chop off the root end, and chop it into fine pieces. Finally, combine all of the above with an equal amount of lime juice and soy sauce. Okay, now it's time to prepare the ingredients for shabu-shabu. First, let's cut the cabbage into bite-sized pieces. Now cut the stems off of shiitake mushrooms. By the way, if your mushrooms are a little dirty, do not go dunking them under water. Just wipe them with a damp cloth. And if your mushrooms are particularly large, you might want to cut them in half. Now take your enoki mushrooms. I usually like to cut off the bottom kind of yucky part. And separate them into little bite-sized clumps. After peeling the carrot, slice it into slices diagonally or on the bias. Chop the roots off of the negi and slice them into fine pieces. Finally, drain the tofu and slice it into large cubes, bite-sized pieces. Alright, it's time to rock and roll. Get your burner or whatever set up and let's get cooking.
This is powerful! A new level of burning has been achieved!
Once you've got your dashi at a boil, grab yourself a piece of meat and gently swish it around until it's almost just barely got a little bit of red left in it. These cook pretty quickly, so watch out. Then just dip it in your sauce of choice and enjoy. Start by eating the meat. That'll flavor the broth. Once you've finished all the meat, now it's time to add in the vegetables and cook them and eat them. Remember that some vegetables, such as the carrots, take a lot longer to cook than others, such as the mushrooms. As you add ingredients, the temperature of your dashi will lower, causing it to stop boiling. You want to ride the controls on your burner to make sure to keep your dashi at a slow boil. Also, as you eat, a kind of nasty scum will develop on the surface. You want to periodically skim that off with a spoon. Well, there you have it. Shabu-Shabu, a great dish for families and groups of friends. Shabu-Shabu is a very social event in Japan. Groups of friends, families, they all get together to eat. So why not get together a group of your friends and watch some anime and eat? It may seem like a lot of work, but it really isn't. And besides, your guests do most of the actual cooking anyways.
There is one more thing.
So you might be thinking to yourself, hey, that was pretty good, but what do I do with this big leftover pot of broth? Well, that broth has an awful lot of flavor in it from all the meat and the vegetables and stuff you cooked in it. Don't throw it out. Instead, let's use it to make zosui, a kind of rice porridge. For that, we'll need, in addition to your leftover shabu-shabu broth, you'll also need some white rice, an egg, and some chopped negi, as well as some soy sauce and some salt. Get your broth heated up if it isn't already, and then add the rice. Follow that with a pinch of salt and a couple dashes of soy sauce. Now crack your egg and give it a good beating. And then slowly add it to the rice pot mixture. Finally, dump in your negi. And there you go. Well, that, as they say, is that. Hope you enjoyed the video. For Otaku no Podcast, this is Donald Burr saying good night, sayonara, and jane.